발만 까지는데.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
So, it's happened again. If you're a little bit out of the loop, T1 have been victims of DDoS attacks for a little bit over a year now. We can dive a bit more in depth into that in a second though. Just a quick disclaimer before we begin, you might have noticed that this video is on a different channel than usual. Over the past year, I've really given some thought to my content and realized that the documentary style, long-form content where I can really be a bit more artistically expressive is just a lot more me. But sometimes there are follow-ups or topics that don't quite fit on the main channel, or I just don't want to spend 200 hours on one video and I just want to yap. That's what this space is generally going to be for. There were quite a few comments I saw in the threads regarding this, citing my video, so I thought that it warranted a little bit of a follow-up given the recent events that have transpired. So let's yap about T1 in 2025 and why they seem like they're in for quite a bit of trouble. With the new year rolling around and T1 players back to streaming fairly regularly, it looked like the bulk of the attacks were over. That's not to say that they weren't happening, they certainly were. For reference, Doran joined T1 around 2.5 months ago, on November 20, and he's been DDoSed on stream around 3 or 4 times that we know of, so not ideal by any stretch, but not completely unplayable. Faker, being the face of League of Legends more or less, was definitely the main target for these attacks, and even he made a return to streaming around a month ago. A lot of what he played was TFT or Jump King to avoid these DDoS attacks, but it's still something. Also, if you're wondering why the website looks a little bit weird, it's because all of T1's stream on a Korean website called Soup. These are the last clips of T1 streaming before the team released their statement, which I'll show after this.
뭐야?
After his teammate being hit offline in his first game of the stream, he just went and played Jump King. The attack on Gumayusi happened only one game after Faker stopped playing.
예? 진정 하나 해가지고 예? 흐름이 이게 좀 불안한데. 안돼. 안돼. 호산나 호산나 호산나.
One game after Gumayushi's teammates got DDoSed, Oner's game was targeted.
Oh my god, 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 oh my god.
And on Doran's last game of the night, he also was attacked.
소환사 한 명이 게임을 종료했습니다. 소환사 한 명이 게임을 종료했습니다.
발만 까지는데 걸린 사람 점수 까지고 페널티도 있을 거였는데.
Every single member of T1 that was streaming that night was targeted, making it the most brutal series of attacks since they returned to streaming. This led to T1 releasing a statement only 7 days after they'd posted their revised streaming schedule, and I'll read the statement out now. Since December 2024 and the beginning of the new year, fans were able to enjoy the live streams of our players. However, the unresolved DDoS attacks have once again affected the players' live streams, and the team will not stream until further notice. We will update our fans with the streaming schedule once conditions are stabilized. Thank you. Although this was fully expected, it still doesn't really make it any less disappointing. In my previous video where I dissected this topic in a lot more depth, a lot of people seem to be unsure why T1's teammates were being targeted over T1 members themselves. T1 members were initially being targeted, but they put defenses in place with the aid of Riot that made it so they couldn't be affected anymore. So instead, the next attack vector of choice was to just take aim at some random teammate of theirs in solo queue, since it essentially has the same effect of making them unable to practice. Undoubtedly now, with this problem being ongoing for more than a year, it's become exceedingly clear that T1 are having to practice for LCK, MSI, Worlds, and whatever other tournaments under unfair conditions. The reason that turning the streams off seems to be the only solution right now is due to 1, Riot Korea seemingly not knowing how to fix the problem, and 2, most stat tracking websites have complied with making T1's games untraceable. Usually, if you go to someone's profile on, say, op.gg, you'll be able to get live stats for their game, including who's on their team. But in an effort to defend T1, this has mostly been disabled for them, so their only other defense is to turn off the streams so their games can actually be completed without interference. So where to from here? T1 lose out on all of their streaming revenue, which is not only revenue that goes to the team as a whole, but it's also a significant chunk of income for the players themselves. There's other alternatives that T1 are turning to now, such as something called T1 Pop. Essentially, it's a service that allows fans to interact with players through one-to-one messaging and real-time live chats. This had been mentioned briefly last year, but it didn't end up making it to an actual product due to backlash from fans, because it was hard to control any malicious messages that will inevitably find their way through as a result of it. Most T1 fans still hold this stance, and they've stated that they'd rather just buy restocks of merch or support the team through direct donations. Hopefully this leaves everyone a little bit more up to speed on the situation. If you haven't seen my original video, go watch it. I'm pretty proud of it. I spent a lot of time on it. It's got fancy animations and it goes a lot more in depth into this situation. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, then do that as well. Okay, bye.